I could not be more
Yeah.
pleased. This is
The food pyramid.
this is such an important thing to human health. People have been told for approaching 50 years that they need to juice themselves up on refined carbohydrates. Kellogg's, I'm looking at you and your terrible influence on the food pyramid. Coke also has a strong influence on the food pyramid, but they do it under the name Dasani. But it has been top heavy on refined carbohydrates, which, as we know, has been driving obesity, heart disease, and other lifestyle related illnesses for a long time. And finally, we're returning to the old, proper human way of eating, which is animal protein heavy. If you see at the top there, it's broccoli, so your low carbohydrate vegetables, your saturated fats, which is very exciting for me. You've got butter, you've got eggs, you've got fish. Dairy is high up there. Olive oil is high up there. Again, lettuce, squash, avocados. Fruit is where it properly belongs, somewhere underneath berries. Way at the bottom, you have cereals. I even think bananas and peanuts are a little bit too high. Bananas are just starch and sugar. And peanuts, you've been told that those are a good source of protein. They definitely are not. That's just clever marketing. But yeah, red meat, animal proteins, animal fats, way up at the top. Bring back the saturated fats. I could not be more excited about this. We've seen just a rise in lifestyle related illnesses. We've told an entire generation of women not to eat saturated fats, and then their skin gets thin, and then they go off and do all kinds of things to their face because they're not eating enough animal collagen, which is bioavailable. This is not a health show, but before they were playing games with COVID science, they were and the pharmaceutical companies were involved in the COVID science and telling you needed to do these things. The food guidelines were manipulated by the food companies, and once they brought in the food pyramid, everybody got sicker. And honestly, to their credit, people were following the bad advice of their doctors. They were eating more whole grains and doing all those things and still getting sicker. And what did your doctor say to you? Well, here's some insulin and here's some Ozempic. And I feel like after today, Novo Nordisk is going to be hardest hit because we are returning to the way that humans are supposed to eat. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, it's a return to evidence base as RFK Jr. is at the helm of Health and Human Services in the US. And we have seen complete MAHA movement overhauls the last few days, make America healthy again. I mean, Trump campaigned on this, and it looks like 2026 is the year that they're making sure that these changes and revamps happen. I mean, I love this 15-second clip from Secretary Kennedy of HHS, where he says, literally, just eat real food. Like we're done.
Don't take it out of a package.
We're done with these highly processed foods. We're done with these refined carbs that are making everybody obese, giving them diabetes, and making chronic conditions proliferate in the United States and arguably not far off here in Canada as well. And so they've revamped the food guide to do it. I mean, take it from him here.
As Secretary of Health and Human Services, my message is clear: eat real food. Nothing matters more for healthcare outcomes, economic productivity, military readiness, and fiscal stability. As Secretary of
Military readiness, right? Yeah. Even these obesity and dietary choices that have contributed to all these chronic underlying conditions that Americans are increasingly suffering from. I wanted to throw to, so I just did a quick write-up on this yesterday when this was first announced. And one of the White House's press releases during this release stated poor diet is a root cause of obesity, which creates high levels of medical spending, estimated to be nearly $400 billion per year. So yeah, if we can just switch out the processed junk for real food and cut into that $400 billion a year on healthcare spending, that just makes logical sense. I don't know who could come at Secretary Kennedy and say, what? You're telling people just eat real food? How dare you? But of course they will, and they have so far already. But it seems very reasonable and rational to me. So I guess that to the left who's melting down, who wants to eat their Fruit Loops and Cheerios, they're obviously going to fling back this typical like anti-science far right rhetoric on the Trump admin, but I am here for it. They've cut and slashed. I know it wasn't on the schedule, but they slashed the childhood vaccine recommendations the day prior. I mean, these are massive changes that they're implementing. And then here in Canada, we have our health minister, Marjorie Michelle, saying, oh, well, I guess we can no longer look to the CDC as this beacon of evidence-based advice. And meanwhile, the CDC and the likes of HHS and the AG, who's just revamped the food pyramid guidelines, are sharing all the evidence. They're like, hey, we're going to be transparent.
And the evidence has been there for a long time, but they just were too invested in subsidizing certain sectors of the agriculture industry. Corn, I'm looking at you. And they were being heavily influenced by large food companies, Nabisco, Kellogg's, Coca-Cola. And if you look, and it infected everything. Somebody very close to me had a heart attack 2 years ago. And I looked at the information about like following a proper heart healthy diet that came home. And it was just nonsense, just absolute nonsense. And then I was like, who's behind this? Oh, the American Heart Foundation. Then you look, then you just go and see who's funding the American Heart Foundation. Well, it's Coca-Cola by way of Dasani. And it has infected everything. Everybody's gotten sicker. And the solution has been medicine and not telling people, hey, your doctor's been giving you bad advice. And I'm not hanging this squarely around the necks of the doctors. Most doctors are not educated on nutrition. I think they have like 40 hours of nutritional training. And a lot of that is old nutritional training that was heavily influenced by lobby groups. There's been a lot of reality coming out of this. Like Nina Teichholz, she wrote the book Big Fat Surprise. She's a journalist. Now she's a PhD. And she notes in some of, in this, and this is not a judgment on people who choose to eat this way. I choose to eat a different way. I don't want certain diets banned. I don't even want junk food banned. Okay, so don't take this as me coming at you if you choose to be vegan or vegetarian. But it is true, and you need to know it. If you're a vegan or if you're a vegetarian for moral reasons because you don't want to eat animals, I get it. But I love eating things with a face. But one of the key parts of the new U.S. dietary guidelines is warning the public about the very real nutrient deficiencies that come with vegetarian and especially vegan diets. And it is absolutely true that if you eat a vegan diet, you should absolutely be supplementing with certain nutrients that are only available from animals. DHA is one of them. People on these diets don't realize because authorities never told them that they're risking their health eating this way. And so it says, pay careful attention to potential nutrient gaps when consuming a vegetarian or vegan diet. Vegetarian diets often fall short in vitamins D and E, choline, and iron, whereas vegan diets show broader shortfalls in vitamins A, D, E, B6, and B12, riboflavin, niacin, choline, calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, zinc, and protein. Now, they're not telling you don't eat this diet. They're telling you if you are eating this way, because this is a free country, you need to be aware that you need to be monitoring your nutrient levels if you are consuming those diets. And again, I understand if you're doing it for moral reasons, I get it. If you're doing it for the animals, that's whatever. But you need to be aware that regardless of what the old dietary guidelines showed you, if you want to be healthy, please be supplementing. And I'm so glad that the administration is making that clear.